Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Underneath the Hood. I'm Dave Martin, the owner of Martin's Auto Repair in Central Phoenix.
I'm Glen Hayward, the proud owner of Goodworks Auto Repair in sunny Tempe, Arizona.
And I'm Lee Weatherby with Accurate Automotive in the heart of Mesa.
And together, we represent 140 years of combined automotive experience.
Our goal is to change the perception of our auto repair industry by going behind the scenes and underneath the hood.
And we hope to share with you what it's like to own a small business and give you a perspective from an insider's point of view.
So let's get started. Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Hey,
Really
another
good.
fantastic day in paradise, brother.
Another day in paradise.
Got
I
to
love
wake
it.
up today. It's
I
gonna
always
be a
tell
good day.
everybody,
That's
living the
right.
automotive dream.
Yeah. there
The
we
grass
go.
is under my feet. It's a good day.
Yeah.
You know what? As in my older years, I'm realizing that, every day I wake up, it is a blessing. And you know what? It means I get to make some choices.
Yeah.
Not all of them will be good. Not all of them will be bad. But you know what? At least I get to make some.
Yeah.
There you
There you
go.
go. I love it.
Hi, Dave. What do we got?
Well, we got some myths here, and I want you guys to kind of either debunk the myth or tell me the myths are true.
I can tell you this. Mechanics are fantastic.
Yes. And good looking.
Yeah. And see, there was one myth debunked right away.
See,
They're
we're-
all bad.
We're on top of this. We are on top of that. But that wasn't one of the myths, Lee. Sorry.
Oh, wow.
Our
I jumped the gun.
Our producer,
Premature.
Our producer does not want us to have any self-esteem whatsoever. So myth one, guys. Tires should be inflated to the pressure on the sidewall of the tire.
Yeah, no, that's
Now,
no.
it used to be, guys,
Yeah.
didn't it? I
Yeah.
mean, back in the 70s, that's what we all did, right?
right. But nowadays, listen, cars are very specific and they're being built, you know what I mean, to where, okay, so let's look at some of the trucks that are out on the road today. You've got tires that are running 65 and 60 up in front and 80 and 85 in the
Yep.
rear.
Yeah.
And you know what? Yet on the sidewall of the tire, it might say 60 to 70 or 60 to 80 or whatever. I mean, listen, that's quite the range. And so I will tell you the proper way to inflate your tire is always look at the door sticker or the manufacturer's label in the guide. You know what I mean?
I don't like anybody ever looks at that.
Yeah, well, but the door sticker is easy.
The door
All you gotta do
sticker is
look at the
easy.
driver's door
I'm
jam.
saying that I always said that the owner's manual in your glove box is like the Bible in your hotel room. It's there, but
Blow the
you
dust
never,
off?
you never read it. So there you go.
There we go.
Well, and that's true. That
Yeah.
is true. And I guess it's to the point of when they're testing these cars and they're doing trying to make them have the best performance and the best handling.
Yeah.
They
That's
put it
the
at
key.
that speed because they want to make that is the best optimal performance that vehicle is going to drive. It's going to handle better. So you want to make sure that you go to that sticker on the door and put it to that air pressure.
Right,
No
and
question about it.
air pressure has to do with braking too, because that's why they want different,
bet.
different air pressures in there. Because 2/3 to 3/4 of your braking is on your front wheels.
You bet.
They're not all four braking at the same pace.
Well, cornering, handling, everything has
right.
to
So if you have
do
too much air on
with
your front
tire
tires, they're
inflation.
going to skid.
You bet. You bet.
If you have the same amount of air in the front and the back, and in some cars they do want them all the same.
Right.
But the braking has a lot to do with how much air pressure is in there and how effective it's going to be.
That's why, NASCAR really, really harps on that. They want to make sure those tire pressures are right where they should be. They have to be really
like within
Well,
a half a
tight.
pound.
And the interesting
Yeah.
thing is I don't know that people really understand this and they could check it. But, after you start driving, the tire pressures actually inflate.
Oh, yeah.
heat, and the tires will actually inflate. They'll raise a little bit.
Or
Heat
deflate
expands.
in
Add
cold
more air.
weather.
But that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And the thing of it is, so tires vary and change, and that's why it's really, really important. Just like you're talking about NASCAR, they're measuring the heat, they're measuring the density, they're measuring the density of the air, how much pressure's in there. And the thing of it is, they're adjusting all the time. You know what I mean?
And the people watching this podcast can relate to this as how many times when the weather or the temperature drops,
Yeah.
we're at 100 degrees right now and it
Couple-
drops it. And now
TPS light.
Now you got a light on, right?
Yeah,
Now you got a light on. So they're coming down the shop and they go, what does this light mean? Because it doesn't really, it doesn't look like a tire to me either. But a lot of people said it just looks like a,
Yeah. Looks like an exclamation
Looks like
point.
an
Yeah.
omega sign with a squiggle.
An exclamation point. Yeah.
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 Well, the interesting thing is, and weather does play a big role, in factor, in proper inflation on the tires. But the real key to it is, It only takes about 2 to 3 pounds of variation in the tires to turn those lights on.
Yeah.
So I think it's really good that you brought that up, but it's also good that we, make sure that people know, like you said, you can't always look at a tire and say, oh yeah, no, that's flat or not flat. Cause I mean, some tires, can be absolutely no air in them and they look like they're fully inflated. And those are the ones you see explode on the road.
Well, because of the really low profile tires, you never know with them. It's really difficult to figure that out.
That's exactly
We
right.
did some 40. We
yeah.
did some 35s the other day.
Wow.
On
That's a low profile tire.
It is on an Infinity, and it actually belongs to my general manager. And we're just mounting the tires, and it was hell on earth trying to get those things off and on because there's not much skin.
That's another
on
Yeah,
problem
it's all bead.
So, guys, another myth number 2 here. If regular graded fuel is good, premium fuel is much better.
No, that's not true. I think we talked about this
We did
at a previous time,
right? Yeah,
but the real truth of the matter is, and this really is a big myth because people think, oh boy, it's just like anything else. Is there ever too much money? Is there ever too much time? Is there ever too much? Well, listen, when it comes to your grade of fuel, use the grade that it's been given. If it requires premium, use premium.
Yep.
If it requires standard fuel, use that because there's no really substantial benefit, for upgrading in the fuel other than I think Glenn teased about it before, unless you just want to, hey man, I paid more for my gas.
Yeah.
Brag about it.
Because I
brag
could.
about,
bragging rights.
Yeah.
I pay more for my gas.
Because I could.
Yeah.
No, it's that definitely is a myth that it's going to help you to do things. Now, if it's the only thing available, definitely put it in. I mean,
it will start the car.
Oh yeah, no, it'll keep you going. You know what I mean? And vice versa. If you have a premium car and the only thing they have available is unleaded, go ahead and use that. You know what I mean? It's going to get you through a tank. I wouldn't say make that a habit, but at the same token, use what you have available to you. But listen, if given a choice, which 90% of the time you have the capability of getting the proper fuel, use the one that the car is,
Yeah, I know. I took a long motorcycle ride up to Sturgis and back this year, and I noticed that the fuel grades, the octane ratings, are much lower in other states than they are in Arizona. Here,
Absolutely.
our lowest is 87.
And they got
there
85.
was 85.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how's my bike going to run on this stuff? But, it ran the same regardless because it only requires regular fuel.
That's awesome. And that's true. Because there's so many different places. Elevation, it also makes a difference.
It does.
In how fuel's burned and stuff like that. So, yeah.
So what you guys are saying, basically, your car won't feel any better whether it's got premium in there or regular in there.
Neither will your wallet.
No. Yeah.
So it's not like eating a steak versus eating Spam.
No, it's not. No, it absolutely.
What do you got against Spam, man?
I don't know. I'm
Especially
throwing
if
it
it's
out
like
there,
bacon flavor. Or,
Bacon flavor.
Well, the funny thing is, I mean, this is how scientific this is, and you guys, I mean, you both know this, but you know how they make mid-grade fuel, right? So, I mean, used to be we had 87, and then we had 89, and then we had 91.
Yeah.
Well, you know how they made the 89, right? It was real scientific.
Yeah.
All right. They put 50% 85 and 50% 91 in a barrel, and they said, "Yeah, we're going to call that 89."
Yeah.
That's it, guys. That was the facts. Was that better fuel? Well, it had 2 more octane, but was it required or necessary?
Exactly.
Absolutely not. You know what I mean? It's still that
so
8
if
parts
you're
to
on,
burn.
if you're, on, if you're undecided,
Yeah.
More marketing.
Yeah.
Good, better, best.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's true. That's kind of the way we are in the world today is like good, better, best. And,
Yeah.
and usually people choose the middle grade. It's just the way it works.
It is.
I think it is. I think you nailed it. I don't think it's real scientific at all. I think it's more marketing than it is scientific.
And there's no question about it.
they
And
make more
that's-
money off you. That's for sure.
Well, and the thing of it is, let's face it, these guys have kind of conditioned us as
As consumers, yep.
You know what I mean? That if this is good, but this is better, because I mean, we hear better and we think, you know what I mean, that man, this is better. Well, what's it better than? In the case of fuel, 89 is not better than 87 if your car calls for 87. And 91, even though it is a higher octane fuel, it's not better for your specific need.
It's not going to burn any better in your combustion
Doesn't
chamber.
burn cleaner, doesn't do there's no substantial benefit to your vehicle.
Right.
All right, myth number 3, guys. Don't worry about replacing your tires until they're down to the minimum tread depth. Now, I'm going to say bald. That's what that's saying to me.
Well, that coming from a bald man.
Because I like bald. Bald is sexy. I don't care what anybody says.
You are sexy, Dave.
So what do you guys think about that?
You know what? Here's the thing. I think this is all going to be down to kind of a personal choice, for the consumers. But here's the thing. Reality would really dictate that you don't allow your tires to go to the minimum on anything. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, we want to get the most wear and tear. We want to be frugal, but there's safety concerns that are involved.
There you go. That's what I was going to bring up.
And the key to it is, from a safety perspective, listen, tires are involved in everything on the car. When you talk about the number one safety item, we're talking about tires on the vehicle. Then you follow it with brakes and lights and things of that nature. But when it comes to the tires, it has an effect on the braking. It has an effect on the handling, like you were talking about, and everything else. So why would you allow, now listen, we don't experience a lot of rain out here in Arizona, but in other places they do. And let's face it, people travel. Not always does your car, just because you live in Arizona, stay in Arizona.
Right, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And you could come across weather anywhere.
Yep.
All right. And so the key to it is, if your tires are compromised or down to the lowest levels, you should definitely not allow them to get there. And listen, your service provider, your mechanics, the people where you're taking your car for maintenance should be telling you this and saying, hey, listen, you need to keep monitoring this, you know what I mean? So that you can have an awareness that, hey, this is coming up. And, in most cases, never replace. I will just add one thing to that. Never, if it's within your capability at all, ever replace just one tire. You know what I mean? We'll always replace them in pairs, because the reality of it is, it's going to allow the tires to wear at an even rate. You know what I mean? And it's going to stabilize the vehicle. You know what I mean? So,
whether you're accelerating, decelerating, or braking, especially
absolutely.
hard braking, if those tires are not spinning at the same ratio, and or if they don't have enough tread on them to stop your car safely. And remember, there's a thing called weight transfer. When you're doing a hard braking, the rear end of your car elevates and it takes some of the weight off those rear tires. So if your rear tires, that's why they always tell you have your best tires on the rear, because you got less traction when you're in a hard braking situation.
Well, and your tires are really the only thing that your vehicle is contacting with the road.
absolutely.
And the thing of it is you want to keep that vehicle on the road. And you brought up a really
Unless
good point.
you're Fred Flintstone.
Unless you're Fred Flintstone, you got some feet contacting the road. And we can always cut a hole in the floorboard for you. We're willing to do that for you. But you brought up a really good point. The thing of it is, it doesn't rain here very much, but that's really kind of the bad part, because what happens is all that oil starts to build up on that road, and then what happens is we get a little bit of rain, because we don't usually get a huge downpour. We get a little bit of rain.
Oil
what
slicks.
happens?
5 days a year, man.
What does oil do in water?
Oh yeah, it comes right to the surface.
Right to the surface.
That's why you don't put that's why you do not put a gas fire out with water.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Fuel burns on water.
It does.
So the point is, yeah, exactly. You guys nailed it, because the most important thing is, and by the way, who the heck in their right mind would ever want to change a tire on the side of the road? You're taking your life in your own hands.
Oh yeah.
So you don't want to put yourself in that position. And then one thing we didn't really bring up, but here in Arizona, when it gets to be 110 degrees and you're driving down the road, what do we see on the road? Carcasses, right?
You bet.
So we want to make sure that those tires
We talk about tire carcasses, by the way.
Yeah, tire carcasses.
There may be some dead animals along the road too, which could be considered carcasses.
But the point is that we want to make sure that, and not to mention, when those tires come apart, look at the damage they do. We've all seen them. The cars come in and the rear fender's beat up. And then we've even seen them to where we had a car in there one time where the computer happened to be on the left side.
Yeah.
And the tire came up and it tore all the wires out of the computer. And what a nightmare that was, because we had to replace the whole wiring harness, because it just ripped the heck out of those wires.
And that wasn't an inexpensive repair.
No, it was
cheap.
Well, but I mean, think about this.
Yeah.
I mean, Dave, you had the thing about tires in Arizona. You're right. We don't get a lot of rain, but we do have a ton of heat, excessive heat. Okay, now excessive heat plays a role as well.
Yep.
But guess
Pavement
what else?
gets up to 400 degrees.
There we go. And you know what?
Tires.
You also brought out the point that tires are the one thing that makes a contact between us. What else do we have out here, guys? I just want you to look around. We have so much construction going on our roads. You ran into it today.
Oh, yeah, it was
horrible.
horrible.
Yep. On the way here.
Yep.
And the thing
Construction
is,
materials, perforate your tires,
and you talk
nails,
about carcasses
screws,
on the road. Yeah, those are
pieces
all
of
what I'm going to
concrete,
put in the carcass category.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. There's debris on the road. There's all kinds of things. So you want to make sure that your tires, I don't run anything down to the minimum, because I don't want to be that guy. I changed a tire on the side of the road. It wasn't any fun.
Right. And you know what? I'm going to share something that, is a little bit off the beaten path, but this week, my wife, she drives a nice car. she's on her way to Pilates, and I get the call, babe, I just been in an accident. I'm like, oh crud, what happened? Well, you think the worst. She says, well, I was literally come upon traffic and I was stopped, and the girl behind me just boom right into my backside. And I thought, babe, are you okay? She says, yeah, I'm fine. But you know what? I was kind of like the Oreo, cookie in the middle, because even though I was stopped, I could see her coming, and I had my foot jammed on the brake, and she pushed me right into the car in front of her. I mean, so now I'm like, wow.
Now the airbags deployed and
absolutely everything goes off, But the real key is she was safe, and the best part about it was, the first thing she said was, babe, we just put new tires in the car and they didn't hold me.
Well,
listen,
she said, that's funny.
We just put tires in the car and it didn't hold me.
Another thing that I thought of while we were on the subject is that many cars now don't have a spare tire anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a really good point. I'm glad
Hybrid
you brought that
vehicles,
up. Yep.
the whole back end on many of them is so occupied with stuff that there's no spare tire. So you blow out a tire, you can't even change it. Now you're calling a tow truck.
Yeah.
So how much is that going to cost?
Yeah.
And then the cost of blowing the tire and the subsequent damage. When the tire comes apart, it damages your inner fender well. It damages your fenders.
Absolutely.
It can damage the body of your car to a point where it's going to cost you thousands of dollars for the body repairs. So it's not just the cost of tires, and buying cheap tires is a really bad idea too, because cheap tires have less belting, less tread depth. The structure of the tire itself is cheaper. That's why they are cheaper.
That's why it was cheaper. I was just going to say,
always buy at least a mid-grade to a high-grade tire, because they'll last longer, they'll give you better performance. And in the long run, you're going to save a lot of money by buying a little bit more expensive
and as interesting
tire.
as you say that, think about what we just, like, this discussion now is almost taken full circle, because we just talk about good, better, best on fuel, where good is perfect. But good on a tire, entry level, you know what I mean, low grade,
it's garbage.
Is absolutely not. Well, and listen, let's face it. You're exactly right.
If you're selling the car tomorrow, put the cheapest tires you can on it.
Even then, you know what? Let's think about our humans, that are our friends. You know what I mean? Let's not sell it to somebody. You know what I mean? With anything less than what we would do. But the reality is, I love exactly what you said. We should be looking at least the mid-grade or better, because in that case, big difference. You know what I mean? A better tire is a better tire. There's more of the things that absolutely matter.
And what do you know about different tire brands as just an abstract consumer? Nothing.
That's exactly
you go to someone who knows the good brands of tires, and even the good brands have different grades.
Yes, they do.
But they're a good grade to begin with.
Yes, they do.
Well, there's some, I look at the sidewalls, someone says, oh my God, these tires aren't good.
Well, so one other thing I want to bring up, and then we got to shut this down and get to myth 4, is that thing of it is that, even if you do have a spare tire, it's usually a space saver and it's a small tire. And who wants to drive around? Let's say you're on a trip and you got to go a long ways. Who wants to drive on that sexy looking space saver for a long period of time?
Well, you know what?
And what if that tire's been in the trunk for 10 years?
There you go.
Guess what? And who checks the air in that tire?
Nobody.
Yeah. See, that's the real thing. It's because a lot of the tires, they're no good anyways, because they literally are so dry rotted and cracked or have no air in them that when you take them out, you go, oh, wow, bad time to find out that I don't have a spare.
Now you're calling a tow truck again.
Yeah.
So.
But that should be also something that your service provider should be doing for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? On routine maintenance.
Real quick tip. I'm just going to throw that out there. I know we're off topic, but I want to tell you, when you bring your car in for service, take the junk out of the trunk. It helps us check that spare tire, because that's usually one of the biggest problems we run into is people got their trunk full of stuff, and it's really hard to get that spare tire.
You think about 20% of your customers are homeless because they've got so much junk in their car.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll not get into that, but I just wanted to throw that tip out there. Okay.
No junk in the trunk?
No junk in the trunk. Hey, some people's preference, but whatever. Anyway, myth 4, let your engine warm up for several minutes before driving it.
That is, I'm going to tell you what, that's outdated only from the standpoint of today's modern vehicles. You know what I mean? They heat up pretty rapidly. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And the oils are so thin, they immediately start to lubricate, that kind of thing.
They are. And you know what? There was a day in the old, when that was absolutely appropriate. You know what I mean? And listen, if you do it, it's not unappropriate. It's just, you're going to be, you go down to the point now where you're being a little bit wasteful. I will tell you this, the smarter thing to do is, if you want to get going, don't sit there and rev the snot out of your car. Don't try to, don't be that jackrabbit guy that's trying to take off, beat the kids, to the corner. You know what I mean? Just slow and steady, you know what I mean? And get there.
It's not a race.
It's not a race. Just allow that thing, to warm up. But like I say, do you have to actually sit in the driveway for 2 minutes, or anything else? No, these are not carbureted cars. You got to come off choke or something like that. It's not like that.
You remember those days? Yeah, the chokes. You had to adjust those every fall and every winter. You had to adjust. Every fall and every spring.
I still have a few cars like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to choke them, don't you?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. When I start them, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you're right, Lee. I think you nailed it. Is the thing that is it's a little outdated information, and these cars have changed so much, and with the computer controls on them, and the way they lubricate, and like you said, Glenn, with the thinner oils. These cars usually you can get them and take off. So
yeah.
Myth 5. This is going to fire you guys up. Oh, this is not going to be good. But anyway, so the dealership must perform your car's regular maintenance to keep the factory warranty valid.
That sounds like a contradiction, because most of them are saying you never have to change this fluid, you never have to change that fluid. BMW, Mercedes, all the European cars say lifetime transmission fluid never needs to be serviced. It's stamped on the oil pan on the transmission.
Of course. Well, I will tell you, this is one of the biggest things that we face in our industry. That is absolutely a complete myth, because the truth of the matter is, Moss Magnuson.
That's the word I was looking for. I'm
yeah.
glad you said that. Good.
Yeah, Moss Magnuson is the act that back in I think it was 77. It provides the right for the consumers to choose wherever they want to go, just like choosing a doctor, choosing a hairstylist, choosing your barber, anything. You should have the right to be able to go and where you want to go and get your maintenance performed. And the key to it is all you have to do is keep good records. It's the same, because listen. Does a dealer do a better oil change than anybody else? Of course not. Do they use a better product? Of course not. Yeah. Do they have better, more, capable,
qualified
more
people?
handsome people?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Well, that could be true.
It's a possibility.
Not in our case. But,
yeah. Boy, so
speak for yourself, Glenn.
So humble. No, but the real truth is that you should have the ability
right.
to
Anything
choose where
you pay
want
for,
to go.
and I guess to nail that down is we tell all our clients this, that if you're going to the dealer and you're paying for anything, you have the right to take it anywhere you want to take it.
You bet.
If it's under the factory warranty,
yeah.
Let's clarify that. If it's under the factory warranty, yes, the dealership does have to do it.
No question.
But
maintenance is not
under
warranty.
Right. Maintenance is under warranty. So that's why I wanted to clarify that and say, I had a client one time, and this guy, he was an accountant. He was really, he's one of those guys, he reads everything, right? So he bought a new car.
Yeah.
Went ahead and took it in. I guess he had something that he had to do that they hadn't finished up on the car. Well, he took the car home and he read the whole owner's manual on the car. And when he went back to have something added to it, or they didn't finish something on when before the transaction was done, the person in the office had told him that you need to make sure you bring your car back here for service, otherwise your warranty is invalid. You have no more warranty on your car. So he went out and got the owner's manual, came back in, and he goes, "Show me in here where it says that."
And you know what? I was going to say, dude, this guy's a geek. He read the whole
He
owner's
read
manual.
the whole.
I got stuck on that.
He read the whole owner's manual.
But I love that.
And
I love that.
And the guy says, "Well, I don't know which page is it, but it's in there." He goes, "No, it's not. I read the whole owner's manual last night."
Yeah.
And so the point is, no matter what anybody tells you, the bottom line is that if you want to get your car serviced at any one of our shops, you're more than welcome to do that. We all have computers.
Oh, you bet.
You call us up if there's something that goes wrong with a warranty. And there's a recall or a warranty that needs to be done, and they're saying, well, you didn't do this or you didn't do that. We'll print you all the work orders. You can take them in, and they have to accept it.
Yeah, and I do want to clarify, there are some fluids in cars nowadays that take specialized equipment to replace. Oil doesn't necessarily have to be one of those, you know what I mean? And we're specifically talking about oil changes. But I mean, some of the transmission fluids and things like that, you have to have specialized equipment in order to be able to service those units. And the thing of it is,
and the right type of fluid that goes in.
The specs. That's what I was going to say.
Absolutely.
We have to follow certain specs. Now, if you're going to a shop and they're not putting, let's say the car calls for 0W20 and they're putting 2050 in there, that's going to be a problem.
Oh yeah.
No, I mean, you're talking about, you have to go to a qualified shop that understands.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we all have the data.
Mm-hmm.
So when your car comes in, we look up in the data. If for some reason we need to, we look in the owner's manual, whatever we need to do. But most of our systems are so sophisticated that we have all that information. So we're able to look that up. We're able to figure out what the specs are on that oil or whatever we're doing. And we replace it with those specs.
Yeah, because ultimately we're responsible for
we are.
The
well,
outcome.
and a lot of times now, I mean, you just go to the oil filler caps, and I'm probably
printed right on.
It's printed right on there, and I would say probably 8 out of 10 vehicles have it. You know what
Right.
they are actually asking for: 0W20, 0W16, 5W30. You know, it's literally stamped
And our oil
or
vendors,
imprinted on there.
and the oil vendors know this.
Absolutely.
And there again, back to what we'd said in another episode, is the manufacturer does not. They don't have any oil refineries.
No, they don't.
You know what?
No.
They're buying their oil just from an oil refinery, just like we are.
Yeah, the consumers have the right to
Yeah.
pursue wherever they would like to do their maintenance.
Yeah.
Oil being one of them. And Dave, it's fascinating because I think that's how the myth would get started. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is where a service attendant or a service advisor, you know what I mean, at, let's call it a manufacturer, a dealer, you know, might indicate to someone that, hey, you have to bring your car here for service. And you know what? And then it's just generally
It's the sales
accepted.
guys too. The sales guys are doing it too.
Oh, of course.
When you go in there to buy a brand new car, they try to hook you into getting your car in there.
Well, sure, because they're different businesses. They're different departments.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And hey, I understand it's marketing. I get it.
Yeah.
We all want the most customers that we can get, and we all want to, but we want the customer to have choices. And that's I guess this is what it boils down to, is we want to make sure that you have choices. You shouldn't have to go somewhere where you're not taken care of properly and the services aren't being done correctly. You need to make sure you can go to a place that can get you in a timely manner and get your car done and service
Absolutely.
it properly.
Well, and I hate to say it, you said something there that's really important, and that's timely manner. I mean, let's face it, sometimes you call up the manufacturers, the dealers, and say, hey, I need to get my car in, and they're like, 3 weeks,
Yeah.
you know, and that's, you know, whether it's
That's a long time to sit in the lobby.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a long time to wait.
Hope they're serving you steak dinners
That's
while
it.
you're waiting.
That's it.
Well, guys, I think this is the last one. This
All
is a
right.
good one too.
Uh-oh.
I like this one. You need to diligently change your engine oil every 3,000 miles.
There's some truth to that, but I listen, cars nowadays, they have different specifications, different oils that are utilized, and so 3,000 once again might be a little outdated, okay? Because in the old cars, you know what I mean, you had one weight of oil, you know what I mean.
Well, we're talking
2 or 3.
synthetic
Yeah,
and full
absolutely.
synthetic.
Absolutely.
That's where we're going with this.
Now,
Yep.
now we've
Yep.
got semi-synthetics, you know what I mean, that
Yep.
are, you know, not going to go as long, because what happens with the synthetics? They dissipate heat, you know what I mean, about 8 times better than just regular oils. And so they're capable, you know what I mean, of more longevity. And that's really the key. And so if you're using a synthetic oil that is more expensive, let's face it, a synthetic oil change is a little bit more expensive than, you know, a semi-synthetic oil change. You can actually go a little bit further, you know, in between those intervals and do it safely. Like I say, Glen brought something up earlier that was fascinating, and it's really crazy. But if you read some of the manuals, the BMWs and stuff like that, they'll tell you for the first 60,000 miles, they want you to do oil changes every 15,000 miles.
Oh, I know.
And you're going, whoa! I'm going to tell you right now, that's absolutely blasphemous.
That's a bad start to engine failure.
Well, they're helping you wear your car out. I mean, their motivation, I don't know what it is, to be truthful with you. It's not
What
the
it- what
same
it
to
as
make it
mine.
look like
Well,
they're a
what-
maintenance-free vehicle. They're trying to portray this you never have to change your transmission fluid. Oh, that'll save me a couple $1,000s. It kind of helps them justify the sticker price on the vehicle, but at the end of the day, your car needs maintenance. I don't care if you're driving a Lamborghini or you're driving a Volkswagen. It doesn't matter. They all require maintenance, and it's pretty similar in its,
I can
intervals.
I can answer your question, and with a question is, what do they do? What does the manufacturer do?
You know what? Well, they're sales manuals, you guys. Let's face it.
No.
Those things,
They sell cars.
they sell cars. Well, yeah.
So to your point,
That's what I was
you
getting
just
to.
said. Yeah, to your point and what you just said.
Buy our
is the thing
brand,
of it
you'll
is-
never
is-
have to maintain it.
We want our customers, obviously, to run that car for 300,000 miles and get the most cost-effective miles out of that vehicle possible.
That's what we want.
That's what we want.
Yes.
Right. Well, if you're going to run your car 300,000 miles, you're not going to buy a new one.
Right.
So
That goes counterproductive to what the manufacturer may want.
Yep.
not may want.
They
That's
wanna sell
exactly
your car-
counterproductive
They want
to
to
what
sell
they
your car
want.
every 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing of it is, that, like I say, it's different strokes for different folks, so to speak. You know what I mean? Some people love to get that manual and go, "Gosh, this is cost of ownership, right?" But it's not really an actual cost of ownership. You know what I mean? Because their intention is to own it for 2 years. Maybe they're on a lease program. Maybe they're not an owner. You know, whatever the case may be. Which is why it's important for us to make sure we understand what is our consumers, what is our customer, what is our client's needs. You know what I mean? Are you keeping this car? Do you own it? What would you like to get out of it? How many miles would you like to go? I mean, these are really important questions. And I have to be truthful with you. I don't know that those are being asked at the dealers because, and a lot of times they're not. It's more
One
just
size does not fit
transactional.
all.
That's correct.
I get where you're coming from that.
Yeah.
Well, guys, you know what? This was great. I mean, we really had some fun here, and really got some great information out there. And it's great as usual to do another podcast with you guys. And looking forward to doing the next one.
Enjoy it very much. Thanks, guys.
I'm
Be
with
good.
you. Can't wait to the next one.
Yeah.
Thanks.